Let's take a look at how to use Notion together with Super and Outseta to quickly and easily build a gated content membership site. I'm Dave. I work on the product adoption team at Notion, but I'm actually filming this video today in my capacity as a longtime Outseta user and just a major Outseta fan. There are 3 layers to this stack. First, we'll review how to set up your Notion pages and databases so that they're ready for managing and publishing your content to your membership site. And then we'll look at how to connect Super to your Notion page and add custom code to it in order to achieve 2 important things. First, it'll allow you to add custom CSS to style your Notion page, and in this case, we're going to use one of Super's prefab styling templates. And second, and the key here to this setup, it'll allow you to paste in a bit of script from Outseta. And that'll enable Outseta to work on your Notion page, giving you the ability to have user accounts, authentication, payment processing, chat widget, user profile dashboard, and a whole bunch of other really cool, useful, fun stuff. And of course, all of the Outseta pop-up modals that'll allow all of those functions to work. So for the purpose of this tutorial, I'll be using the example of my fictional content membership business focused on home winemaking. I really love wine and I love making wine at home, and I even document my winemaking process. So we're going to pretend that I, as a home winemaker and content creator, have decided to start charging membership subscription fees for access to my content. So instead of signing up to Substack or Kajabi or Ghost or Patreon, I decided to build my own membership subscription site, and I did it using this magical combination of Notion, Super, and Outseta. Let's take a look. I've built all the pages and sections of the site here in Notion using native Notion blocks, and I've included all the usual elements that a marketing site or landing page generally needs to have. Headings, photos, callouts, CTAs, sections talking about what the member will get with their subscription, info about the team, decorative photos from my winemaking journey, social proof in the form of testimonials from some existing members who you may or may not recognize, plans and pricing section outlining membership options. I even went as far as creating an imaginary charity program where members can add an extra buck or two onto their subscription each month to support one of these organizations that Superstack is partnered with. And I did this to showcase the add-ons feature that I'll show you once we get into the Outseta dashboard in a couple of minutes. What else? FAQs, some more decoration, and now, all of the actual member content that I'll be gating with the Outseta plans is living in this member dashboard page that I created. And very importantly, we'll have an option to hide page blocks like this in Super, which I'll show you in a moment. So let's go right into the member dashboard page. And you'll see that I've set up Notion databases or content pages, these here, for each content collection. So I've got one for articles, and I built it as a native Notion database. And if you click into an article, then you can see all of the content in the body of the page. And then, of course, the metadata in the Notion database properties. One for an archive of newsletter editions, same kind of thing. And one for tutorial videos, which I built a little bit differently, not as a database, but as inline blocks in callouts. And I'll show you a little bit later why exactly I did that. It was a styling thing. And so all of the content is populated here in this collection of pages, and it'll be published to our website's front end, and it'll get gated by Outseta according to what content each user has access to based on their chosen membership plan. So the last thing that we're going to do here in Notion before we go over to the Super app is we're going to go to the share menu. We're going to make sure that it's published to web, and then we're going to copy the site link. And so let's jump over to Super, and we're going to edit our site. And so, Super has a really easy to use interface and a whole bunch of really flexible tools along the left side panel here. Let's jump into settings. And here's where we're going to paste that Notion URL, and that's what's going to connect Super to our Notion page. Next, we can point a custom domain here in the Domains tab. We can sync and manage different pages from our Notion site. We can control SEO settings. And we've got all kinds of flexible design options, but I just want to quickly take a look at one of them, which is right here in the Layouts section, Notion Page Links. We're going to set that to hide. And what that's going to do is it's going to take those page blocks that are at the bottom of our Notion page, and it's going to make sure that they're hidden from here so that those pages actually have a place to live without being accessible through the front end. Okay, and here we can manage our header and footer navigation. Very importantly, the links in our header and in our footer, we're controlling them from here in Super. And so these actually don't exist on the Notion page. And that gives us a lot of control for our nav buttons. All right, next we've got custom code, which is super important, but I'm going to skip it for a minute and then go back to it. We've got an options panel with all kinds of really nice flexible options, including connecting Google Analytics. We've got a file server where you can store and manage TXT files, which I'm not going to cover in this video. And for an extra few bucks a month, you can get advanced analytics, which I think is probably well worth the small extra spend, especially if you're running a business. Okay, now let's go back to the custom code tab, which is arguably the most important one for the purposes of this tutorial. We've got our raw Notion page with no custom styling applied to it, and now we'll apply a style sheet from one of Super's prefab templates. So I'll go over to Super's website and I'll check out their template gallery. I chose a template that I like and I grabbed the CSS style sheet snippet. And as soon as I come back into the code tab in the Super app and I paste it into the head, voila, all of the CSS gets applied immediately across all of the pages and sections of my Notion site. Okay, so let's make sure those changes are saved, and let's jump over into our Outseta dashboard. Now we're going to establish our connection from Outseta to Super and Notion. And I'm not going to give you a tour of all of the various features and functions that come in the Outseta suite, because frankly, there are a lot of them. And also, if you happen to be watching this video from within the Outseta documentation, then you don't need a tour anyway. But I'll start just by showing you that I've set up 2 plans. And I've also set up some optional add-ons. So let's take a look at the plans first. One is an essentials plan for $10 a month or $100 a year. And another is a pro plan for $16 per month and $160 per year. And you can see I've associated a bunch of these charitable add-ons with each of those plans, which I've set up here in the add-ons panel. And of course, I've set up the connection to my Stripe account for payment processing. Okay, and now for the most important step, we're going to go to Auth and Embeds. And here in the Quick Start tab, we're going to grab this header script. Okay, we're going to just copy it from here. And we're going to head back over to Super and pop this into the head here alongside the style sheet that we pasted in previously. But for good measure, we'll add a couple of things to this little script first. Okay, so first off, we'll add monitor DOM true. Okay, adding this ensures that Outseta embeds like login and sign up forms work properly, even though Notion has some limitations in handling JavaScript rendering. And since I also want to add my Outseta chat widget in this site, I can grab the chat widget's embed code. So we'll go back here to Outseta, we'll go to Help Desk and Settings, and we can grab it from here. But I can actually do this an easier way by just adding the word chat to the list of tools that the unified Outseta quick start script here is going to load. I'm going to make sure that those changes are saved. So we've just got a couple of more things we're going to do here. You remember I showed you the pricing plan options section on the homepage of the site here. So each of these plans has its own dedicated CTA button. And what I want to do is I want to grab the dedicated plan URLs from within Outseta, and I'm going to paste them in here into each of these individual CTAs so that when clicked, it calls up the appropriate plan in the pop-up modal. So I'll hop back into Outseta. I'll go over to my plans, and then in each plan, I can just copy the URL. And once I've copied it, I'll come back to my Notion page, and I'll just paste each of them into the appropriate link blocks here. All right, let's go back over to Super, because I want to show you that we also have these generic CTAs. And so we're going to need a generic pop-up modal, and therefore we're going to grab a generic URL for that pop-up modal from the Outseta side. And we'll get that by going to Auth and Embeds. And right here in the Quick Start tab in the second section, we've got Sign Up Link. And so we're just going to copy it from there. And we're going to hop back over to Notion. And we're going to paste it into all of those spots that we want to have a generic CTA with a generic pop-up modal. And what that's going to do is it's going to give the user an extra first step of choosing their plan. And so we'll paste that generic URL here. And let's see where else we've got one. We've got a CTA there, another one there, and one right in the hero. All right, next, I'm going to grab the login URL, and I'm going to paste it into my login button here in Super so that it calls up the login pop-up modal when clicked. So back here in Outseta, we're going to grab it from right here. Copy, and then in the Super app, we'll go over to navigation, and we'll manage our menu items. We'll edit the login button that I set up, and we'll just paste it right in there and make sure that it's saved. And I'll do the same for the My Profile button. I'll grab it from here in the very same page in Outseta, profile link, and I'll paste it into the My Profile button here in Super in the nav. So all of this quick little copying and pasting that you're doing of these URLs and these code snippets from Outseta into Super, it's doing a ton of work for you behind the scenes, and it's really allowing you to avoid having to worry about how to handle all of these very essential ops related things. I think it's pretty great, and it's one of the reasons why I love Outseta so much. Okay, so now we're in business. Let's just make sure as a last thing that the site is published and live, and I'll give it one last little sync just for good measure, and we can go take a look at our live site. So here we are, our fully functional, fully styled, fully ready, public-facing marketing site with all of our decoration and, most importantly, all of the membership ops functionality that we're getting from Outseta. So let's take it for a spin. I'll click on one of the CTA buttons, which will open up one of the Outseta pop-up modals where we can pick whether we want to be billed monthly or yearly, and we can pick between the two plans that I set up, the Essentials for $10 or $100 yearly, or the Pro plan for $16 or $160 yearly. So let's grab one, put in an example email address, and continue to checkout. And here we're presented with the add-ons. So let's say we want to add $1 for Wikimedia Foundation, a very worthwhile cause indeed. We can also add another $1 for water.org, and you can see that the total reflects the options selected. But let's just tick those off for now, because I want to show you that I also created a discount code. Let's jump back into Outseta for just a moment. We'll go into billing under discounts, and you'll see that I set one up offering 100% off using the code FREE. And I did that so all of you who are watching can get past the paywall and kick the tires a little bit. But of course, I already have my own login, so I'm going to just get out of that one. And let's just take a quick look through some of the other pages of the site that I built. We've got an about page talking a little bit about my process building the Superstack case study together with my longtime colleague and friend and brilliant Notion certified consultant, Tim Jeffries in Australia. We've got a link to our plans section on the homepage. We have a contact page where we have toggles for 3 different ways that people can get in touch with us at Superstack. We've got a link to the FAQ section on the homepage, which are also native Notion toggles. And we've got the My Dashboard page, the most important. And you can see that if we're not logged in, it's gated. So let's go ahead and log in. And all of a sudden, I've gained access to all of that gated member content. So let's poke around a little bit. We've got articles, and keep in mind that this is a native Notion database with the database views exactly as they are in Notion, except it's all styled by the custom CSS. So you open up one of these articles, it presents as a fully styled blog article page, and it's taking all of the body content from the body content of the Notion page in the Notion database, and it's taking the main image from the image property that I set up in the database. And then we can take a look at our other views by type and by author. We can go back to our dashboard and take a look at our newsletter archive and see all of the past editions. Same idea. And we have the tutorial videos page, which is built using toggles inside of callouts. And then all of these videos that are in fact from my own winemaking process are embedded directly into the Notion page, and they live on the Notion servers and not on YouTube and not on Vimeo. So they're all protected and gated behind these membership plans. And just for good measure, I did a little hypothetical community and events page. So we've also got our chat widget, which is served up here also by Outseta. And we've got our profile modal, one of the most important things. So here is where any user can manage their profile information, their account details. They can change or modify or even cancel their plan subscription, and they can update their billing information. So what's really nice is that all of these kinds of boring ops related things are just taken care of by Outseta, and you don't need to worry about them. Okay, well, that's the whole setup. It's not very complicated, right? I made this entire setup in one evening, including all the graphics and content. So this software stack is just extremely fast and extremely accessible, and you really don't need to do any coding at all. It's just a bit of copying and pasting of some code snippets and some URLs. So I think that content creators who want autonomy and flexibility, they can opt to use this stack instead of Substack or Kajabi or Ghost or Patreon and run their businesses this way. And I think what's best is that so many content creators like me already plan our content in Notion, and this enables us to manage and distribute it directly from the source. If after watching this you want to take a closer look at this example site, you can go to superstack.site and poke around a little bit, and you can also test the sign-up process using the discount code FREE that I showed you I set up, and that'll get you past the paywall. So to wrap up, as a Notion user and a content creator, this simple little stack is exciting for me because it's a great example of how you can breeze past all the technical headaches of setting up an online business like this one and take advantage of wonderful tools like Outseta that give you all the operational tools you need right out of the box so you can focus on your business, on your product or your service, or in this case, your content. Well, I hope this was helpful and that you're excited to start using this stack. Okay, ciao for now.